Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and today I have another field test. I kind of took a break from this series mainly because I was just waiting for Armored Kill, but now that it's out, I decided to bring it back, and the way that this thing works is basically in the comment section below, you guys let me know what weapon setup you would like me to try, so what weapon and its attachments, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll pick from the top 3 most thumbs up comments, and then put one of them through its paces, and just kind of let you guys know why I liked or why I disliked that particular setup. And today I'm going to be trying out the UMP with the suppressor and laser sight attachment. And in the Armored Kill patch, DICE made some pretty significant buffs to this weapon, at least in my opinion. I know that there were a fair amount of people that really enjoyed the UMP before the patch, but I honestly felt like the weapon was just lacking. It didn't really do a whole lot of damage, it has a very slow RPM, and I just didn't feel like it performed well in any situation. But now in the patch, they've increased its minimum damage up to 34 damage a shot, which is a huge difference from what it was before. It used to do 25, so that's a huge buff right there. But they also did nerf its effective range and also its minimum damage. It's now going to do 25 damage a shot at its max range, which is now 40 compared to 50 meters. So really what DICE has done here is made it more effective up close, but less effective at medium to long range engagements. And this is going to have some pretty dramatic effects on how you want to play with this weapon. And I'll kind of go more into detail about that in a bit. So even though the UMP has gotten a huge buff to its close range damage, I still feel like it doesn't compete with some of the other personal defense weapons out there, like the M5K or the MP7. Don't get me wrong, I feel like it's a lot better than it used to be before the patch. It's a lot more fun to use, but there just still are some things that are holding it back and allowing it to elevate to the awesomeness of those other weapons. And I think the largest thing holding it back would have to be its RPM. It only has a rounds per minute of 600, which is very similar to something like the G3A3, which kind of makes sense. They both have the same close range damage model of 34 damage a shot. But the thing about that is the G3A3 is really meant for long-range combat. Sure, when you get into a close-range engagement, having a huge damage model of 34 damage a shot is always nice, but really the G3A3 is meant for long-range engagement. It has a slow RPM, which allows you to manage the recoil, and it has more damage behind it for those long-range targets. But comparing that to the UMP, sure, it has a very nice damage model up close, that's awesome, but its damage just drops off significantly for those medium to long range targets. So basically what you have here is the G3A3, but only good for close range engagements, and you don't use the G3A3 for close combat. You use it for long range engagements. So I don't really see why you would want to use the UMP, which is basically the G3A3, but you can't use it for long range engagements. I'm hoping this kind of makes sense. It's basically a weapon where you would think would be good for long range, but it's not. Not only that, but the UMP also has basically the same time to kill as a lot of the other personal defense weapons out there. And why this is significant is because if you miss with one shot with the UMP, it could mean the difference between life and death. And there's just really not a lot of room for error with this weapon. But comparing that to something like the MP7, which has a very high RPM, missing one shot really isn't that all big of a deal because you're going to have a lot more flying in behind it, and as long as you get 4 to 5 into the target, they're probably going to die and you're good to go. But like I said, if you just miss one shot with the UMP and you're in a firefight, that could mean the difference between life and death. And really that's where it comes down to. The UMP has a slow RPM, which you would think would be good for long range, but because the damage model just drops off significantly for medium to long range, it's not good in those engagements, so you're going to want to play it up close and take advantage of its high damage model, 34 damage a shot. But because it just has slow RPM, it just doesn't perform as well as something like the MP7, where there's just a lot more room for error. All that being said, though, I would have to say the best aspect of the weapon is if you're able to flank your enemy effectively and you get behind 4 or 5 targets, as long as you are accurate and you know when each target is going to die so you don't waste any bullets, you can take out those 5 targets without a problem before you have to reload. And that's usually not the case with a higher RPM weapon. Usually you go through all of your ammunition very quickly, you have to switch to your sidearm, and usually at that point, maybe you'll get lucky and they they won't realize you're there, but they'll probably just switch when you got your pistol out and outgun you, because the pistols just don't do as well as the M16A3. So if you are very accurate with the UMP and you know when the target's going to die, and as long as you don't waste any of your ammunition, you can take out a lot of targets up close without having to reload. And I'd have to say that that right there is the best aspect of the weapon. As for your attachment recommendations, I think they're fantastic, especially the suppressor. It's really going to allow you to play up close and personal, and as you guys have hopefully been able to tell through this video, you have to play it up close. That's really the only way you're going to be able to use this weapon effectively, and the suppressor is going to allow you to do that. And not only that, it's going to let you flank your enemy and make sure that you're staying off the radar, so even when you do flank them, you can continue to flank them and they're not going to know you're there. But overall, I'm really enjoying the changes to the UMP. It's a lot more fun to use and a lot more effective than it used to be before the patch. But I still would think that if I wanted to be more competitive, I would switch to something with a higher RPM. While, you know, it does have its moments where you can get these crazy montage clips where as long as you're accurate, you can take out a lot of targets without having to reload, I just feel like something with a higher RPM for those close encounter engagements is going to leave you a lot more room for error, and you're just going to get a lot more success with it. So I like the changes, I just feel like it isn't the best personal defense weapon out there. But that's it for today's field test. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to submit your own weapon setup, you can do so by leaving a comment down below. But if you guys enjoyed the video or just want to support my channel, I always appreciate it when you give my videos a rating, and if you haven't already, subscribed for more. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.